Hi, everybody. Today, I want to address the steroid controversy in regards to the Liver King, him peddling his organ supplements and attributing his physical development or physique to the organs, and finally, what is actually natural in regards to developing a strong physique using a nutritionally dense diet, or in other words, consuming organs. Now, as for Liver King himself, all I want to say is that he's very obviously a charlatan and a LARPer now. That's unanimous. I think that's a unanimous consensus amongst everybody. He was using $15,000 of growth hormones and steroids, and that's going to develop a repulsive physique such as his. That kind of physique is totally unnatural, and I think most of us knew he was abusing steroids, but were just bothered by his insistence on lying and saying that he was natural. So enough with him. Now on to the actual brand itself. The Ancestral Supplements Organ brand is an excellent brand. They are very critical nutrients, and they're indispensable in the modern world, essentially, unless you're willing to eat the organs raw. They are extremely overpriced, but if there's anybody who has an alternative, please comment in the comment section below. I haven't done much research on the topic. I haven't been able to find an alternative which has a more fair price, but also has the same superb quality. But let's talk about what kind of a physique is actually obtainable. What is actually naturally obtainable by eating a nutritionally dense diet and living a healthy lifestyle. Now, I recently made a film called Harmonious Human Development. It's a mini film on my YouTube, and I showcased several indigenous cultures. Now I'm going to showcase two here just to convey my idea. One of them were the Asaro indigenous people of Papua New Guinea, of the highlands of Papua New Guinea. And the men in these societies, whether they're teenagers or 60 or 70 years old, they all have very strong, lean, muscular physiques, well into old age. And that is natural. And I do believe that that is actually the birthright for all human beings. It's just that we're living on very malnourished diets and are bombarded and assaulted through a wide spectrum of environmental toxins and chemicals which dysregulate our hormones. But if you do live a healthy lifestyle and you do consume a very nutrient-dense diet, something like the Asaro of Papua New Guinea is very possible. And they aren't carnivore, vegan, or keto. They are simply omnivorous, eating from whatever the land has to offer. And it's actually a fairly significant amount of carbohydrates. They eat a lot of squash and tubers and corn and so on, but also lots of fish and hog and pork, and they eat all the organs. Another indigenous tribe I want to showcase are the Waroni Indians in Ecuador. They're in the forest, in the Amazon forest, extremely isolated. We're always very hostile to foreigners. And in this video, according to the documentary, this man climbing up this tree is 60 years of age, and he has an incredibly strong built physique. And he's climbing the tree to retrieve the monkey which he had hunted in the forest. He shot it with an arrow, and it was stuck in the tree, and he climbed up to go and retrieve his monkey. And they also are eating whatever the land has to offer. Tubers, squash, whatever little wild fruits are available there in the forest, and any and all edible animals, monkey included. And living like that in a very pristine environment develops very strong physiques. And of course, you don't have the hormone disruptors in their environment, and so they're able to sustain it well into old age. I mean, this 60-year-old climbing the tree probably has more energy than most guys my age. I'm 30. Now, I want to change gears here and go to Weston. If you're familiar with his work, he went around the world documenting dozens of indigenous cultures, and he reports how each of them prized and prioritized some type of organ meat or fat of an animal because they understood it to contribute to the development of their people. For example, in the Lower Schental Valley in Switzerland, they were valuing the butter which was obtained in the spring from cows living on the pastures in the slopes. In other cultures, I think it was the Hadza, I can't recall exactly, but they were in Africa. And when they would hunt an animal and open up its entrails, the warriors thought of the liver to be so sacred, they would not even touch it with their bare hands. They would use sticks they cut up the liver and use sticks to take out the liver and then eat it that way because they thought of it so highly, and they understood it to contribute to their fertility, growth, development, strength, and so on. In my own experience, my own anecdotal experience, I went on a nutritional fortification and physical development protocol where over the span of about 2 years, I put on 70 pounds of mass. And it was a high carb, high protein, high fat diet, lots of raw and cooked meat, lots of raw eggs, lots of butter, lots of white rice, potatoes, etc. Very high in calories and in all 3 macronutrients, as well as some fructose. And the only things that I supplemented with were organ supplements. And I think they played a very pivotal role in helping my skeletal system to grow and in allowing my wisdom teeth, all 4 of my wisdom teeth, to fully grow in and mature. Of course, they weren't solely responsible. The diet played a very big component, but the organ meats I do feel helped me significantly. So when you want to understand what is actually possible naturally, I showed the indigenous cultures. That is what's naturally possible, and you can obtain that and sustain that well into old age. Not what the Liver King had obtained. That's kind of repulsive even. I don't know why anybody would want to look like that. Now, there may be individuals on the carnivore diet today who only eat muscle meat and steak. And I don't think that's gonna fare too well for you long term. First off, traditionally, and in all the primitive cultures, nobody really ate just lean meat all the time. It was thought of as subpar food. All cultures prioritized the fats of the animal and the organs. If you read Weston A. Price's work, you'll familiarize yourself with these ideas. But I want to read an excerpt from his book. It's on page 302, and it has to do with zoos breeding lions in captivity who would lose their reproductive efficiency. They couldn't reproduce anymore. They'd become infertile when they were only fed raw muscle meat. But when fed raw organ meats, they would be able to reproduce efficiently and regain their fertility. So, this is page 302, Weston A. Price, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. The story is told of a trip to Africa made by a wild animal specialist from the London Zoo for the purpose of obtaining additional lions and studying the problem. While in the lion country, he observed the lion kill a zebra. The lion proceeded then to tear open the abdomen of the zebra and eat the entrails at the right flank. This took him directly to the liver. After spending some time selecting different internal organs, the lion backed away, turned, and pawed dirt over the carcass, which he abandoned to the jackals. The scientist hurried to the carcass and drove away the jackals to study the dead zebra, to note what tissues had been taken. This gave him the clue, which when put into practice has entirely changed the history of the reproduction of the cat family in captivity. The addition of the organs to the foods of the captive animals born in the jungle supplied them with foods needed to make reproduction possible. Their young too could reproduce efficiently. As I studied this matter with the director of a large lion colony, he listed in detail the organs and tissues that were particularly selected by animals in the wilds, and also those that were provided for animals reproducing in captivity. He explained that, whereas the price of lions used to be $1,500 for a good specimen, they were now so plentiful that they would scarcely bring 15 cents. If we observe the parts of an animal that a cat eats when it kills a small rodent or bird, we see that it does not select exclusively muscle meat. So, again, in the wild, carnivorous animals, they go for the organs and the fat. They leave the muscle meats to the hyenas and jackals and the composters, the vultures. In traditional cultures, such as the one that I'm from, in Central Asia, in Afghanistan, muscle meat is also not consumed too often. It's actually fed to the fighting dogs. The cuts of meats which are prioritized and cherished are the organs, the brain, the tongue, and all of the meats which wrap around the bone and have that fatty collagenous tissue. The lean steaks, that's not really a thing. It's a novelty, and it was introduced into modern human culture in the 20th century with the advent of the cholesterol myth, the whole low-fat diet craze and all. And so we were trained and indoctrinated into eating lean meats all the time, rather than the organ meats and the fatty cuts. And we've lost our taste and appetite for that, not only because we haven't consumed it in a long time, but also because legally the processed food manufacturers are allowed to put trace amounts of opiates or heroin inside of the packaged and processed food, thus creating an addiction in us. And so our palates have changed, our taste buds have changed, and we no longer find real food appetizing. We find the pseudo food appetizing. So what I recommend for individuals is, if you don't want to pay an arm and a leg for the supplements, which I think are great, what you can do is obtain organs from a local butcher, cut them up into small cubes, and then place them in a bag inside of a freezer. Place them like 5 cubes per small bag. And every day what you can do with your cooked meat is take out a small bag, take out 5 cubes of the previously frozen and cut up organ meats, and just have those. You won't even taste them, just swallow them. And that's a lot better than having no organ meats. I think it's a lot better than even buying the organ meats and cooking them, because you kill most of the nutrition. The Ancestral Supplements brand, it's dehydrated and ground into a powder, so it's not heat treated, and it preserves a lot of the nutrition. Now, as a final note here, this stuff has concentrated iron, all the organs. And so for men, if you're taking a lot of this daily, it will amalgamate in your tissues. It will make you very strong initially, but after several years, you will start to feel lethargic after consuming them. And at that point, you have to listen to your body and stop consuming them, because it's your body telling you that it's facing iron overload. It's great for a time to develop the body, but it's not great for longevity. Anyhow, I hope that this provided some clarification and insight into people, or to people. It's my way of thinking on this subject in regards to, the whole Liver King controversy, the organs, and him showing off his body. What is actually possible? I showed you guys what's possible with the indigenous physiques. I as well went on a developmental journey using these organ supplements, but of course it's not going to make you give you a physique like the Liver Kings. That's a steroid body. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, just go ahead and comment below. I'll get to you guys as time permits. Thank you and have a wonderful day.